Welcome to our podcast, Learn Biblical Greek, brought to you by Dr. William Stewart, the co-founder of Telios. This captivating podcast teaches you biblical Greek through a verse-by-verse study of the book of Ephesians, interjecting Greek grammar, Greek word meanings, and vital theology concepts. Thanks for joining us on this exciting biblical journey. Your study will be more effective if you use the Greek text with the Bible word codes, either on the eSword download or Bible Hub website. These links are on our podcast website at www.teliosresearch.com.
Hi, I'm William Stewart. Welcome back to our podcast on learning biblical Greek. I'm glad you're here. We're in a great section of scripture in Ephesians 2, verse 14, the last half of the verse. We're learning not just the Greek grammar, but about the Greek words, how Greek is useful, and the theology. So hopefully you're gaining a knowledge of Greek, but also about this great book as well from the Apostle Paul to the Ephesians. Don't forget to go to the website, look at the tables and the links that are there as an educational resource for you. Look at that disclaimer. Let's go to the text. So we've talked about how in verses 11 and 12, how Israel had the advantages over the Gentiles. The Gentiles were separated from the commonwealth of Jews and had the advantage in terms of their access to God. And then how God was solving this and through Christ. And in 14, we've read that for he is our peace, this is God. It's the peace in context at this point between Jew and Gentile, who've made us both one. Otherwise, he's brought them together in one man in their access to God. So neither has an advantage, and they both come to Christ in the same way. By faith, believing in the death and resurrection of Jesus Christ to salvation. We'll see this as we go on. Let's pick up in the verse kai, that most common word in the New Testament, and where joins thoughts. Tomasotikon. So this is the only place this word is used in the New Testament. So it's a partition, basically, and it's in the neuter, and it is this is the accusative by context. So it ends with the N, and the TO is the article. So typically these are, even though they don't match, this is a second declension noun, because in the nominative in several instances, the endings of the article and the noun itself don't match. So, 2, phragmon. So this is of the wall. Basically, again, this is the only time this is used. So it's the partition of the wall. You see the OU ending. This tells you, of course, it's genitive, masculine, or neuter, singular. They match. So again, this is a second declension noun. We come to a verb, lusas. So luo, and this means to resolve or to loose and or destroy in some instances. And it is we see as we use our typical method for analyzing a verb, we look at the first part of it. Over to the left, we do not see a prefix. We don't see an augment, that epsilon, telling us that it's a past tense indicative. So we see the root word lu and then the SAS. So that tense formative, the SA, tells you it is aorist. Okay, that punctiliar one-time verb, a completed action. Then we have the S. So this makes you, that AS ending makes you think of two things. Just like earlier in the verse where we looked at poeo. So the AS can either be a second person singular in the aorist, But we know that it is not because there is no epsilon. So it's not in the indicative where you would see the AS. So otherwise, it has to be a participle. The aorist masculine singular participle. Again, it's in the nominative. Okay, so loosing. So, and the middle wall of partition, he or he was loosing, okay, or had loosed. Again, it's hard to translate the participle sometimes into English because they're so specific. We don't really have anything like it, so you have to use the context. So the whole verse would read, "For he is our peace, who hath made us both one, and has broken down the middle wall of partition." Okay, now what's this mean? What is the middle wall of partition? So some people have looked at this in a general way. It's just a division between Jew and Greek. It is my opinion, and you'll have to decide this for yourself. It symbolizes the temple, the second temple in Jerusalem, that grand temple that King Herod so improved and made beautiful and huge. So on the outside of the temple, the most outside court, was the court of the Gentiles. And this is where the Gentiles could go. But there was a wall dividing this court and the inner courts where the Jews could go. I think that's the middle wall partition that divided that access of the Jews in the second temple and held the Gentiles outside. This has been broken down. So again, it symbolizes the fact that the Jew and the Gentile both come to God through Christ. All right, we'll continue this amazing passage next time as we move from talking about Jew and Gentile to Jew and Gentile and approaching God. And that becomes even more educational and helpful. Thank you for joining me today, and I'll look forward to seeing you for verse 15.